name's Mickey Gaminol. I own Gaminol Tutors, and we do ASVAB domination. So if you or anyone you know is going into the military, we help you to increase your score to whatever level you need it to be to get the job that you want. If you go into the military for 6 years, you want to make sure you're doing something you can get a lot out of. So I help people with that.
Right. Paula Williams, ABCI. We help aviation companies sell more of their products and services, whether that requires consulting, courses, whatever they need.
Hi, I'm Dave Pearl, the fly writer. I'm a writer, I'm a former attorney and a former Navy pilot. I help aviation businesses write whatever it is that they need to write. If it can be written, I can write it. I like to think that my words will give wings to your ideas.
And how we do that is by actually creating custom e-learning modules that they can use for their safety compliance or for their operational requirements, as well as we actually sell a learning management system that is actually on top of that, a qualification management system that allows organizations to track and monitor their employees so that they can provide employees that are meeting customer specific requirements or maybe location specific requirements. So there's lots to do there, but yeah, that's what we do here at Motive Learning.
Very cool.
Hi, my name is Trish, and I'm the CEO of Charterly. We're a platform that allows and connects people to private travel for passenger and cargo travel. So our goal is to make the benefits of private aviation available to a lot more people.
Good.
Nice.
And then I obviously work for ABCI. She's the rock star. I do the back end stuff like networking, like I've been doing for the last 5 hours. And also the financial end of it. So that's what I do.
So you can show them that you paid the bill, which is
exactly right.
Oh, right on. All right, cool. So let's jump right into it. 2021, what do you plan to do differently? So 2021, the one thing that I'm going to do differently this year that I haven't done in the past is I'm going to be, I don't want to say something vague, like more intentional, but I'm going to focus on my business at a higher capacity. Prior to this, I've always had a full-time job or, been doing military or Peace Corps or whatever, different things. But now I'm at a point where I can focus at a much higher capacity. I'm not working at my previous full-time gig anymore. And I've got the time to devote more attention to my business. So that's one thing that's going to be different about this year for me.
Fantastic. So it just went up to number one on your priority list.
Exactly. After the wife, right?
Yes, absolutely. No. Of course, she's number one. What does that mean exactly? So you're going to be spending 40 hours plus a week on your business, and you've never had the opportunity to do that before.
Yeah. So I quit my job November 1st, which means I've had about 2 months of experience kind of losing my mind as far as like, oh my God, am I going to get clients? What am I going to do? Right. Yeah. It's a lot more kind of out there on the edge, a lot less security. But this is what I want to do. It's been so much more rewarding. I help people increase their math competencies, and like just yesterday, like my favorite thing is I have this opportunity to really score on the things I like about my business. So yesterday I was explaining 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional, and that's why we call 3 squared is 3 to the second power, because it's a square with one side when you're taking the area. And then 3 cubed is 3 to the third power because it's got 3 sides, because it's length, width, height. And so it's a third dimension. And then he asked the question, what is to the fourth? And I'm like, it's the fourth dimension. It is the fourth dimension. And it does go up to the 5th dimension and the 6th dimension. And it's beyond the scope, like at a point, it gets beyond the scope of human perception. And like conveying that idea to someone is something that would never happen in my day-to-day life working secure. I mean, it might, because I do a lot of math, but much less likely for me to be able to explain that to someone who never would have heard it otherwise. So that's one of the things that I love about my business, and it really emboldens me to put more time and effort into it.
Fantastic. Going over the edge of math into philosophy.
Exactly.
Uncharted territory. That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's fun.
You should, let's see, what is the name of it? There's a course on quantum mechanics that I took online recently.
Oh, from the great courses, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And it explains how you go even further in what you're talking about.
Sweet. Well, I'm just trying to stay one step ahead of the students, really. I'm not trying.
Right.
Don't want to get too far out there.
Computer-wise, the new quantum computer, they're relatively new. Quantum computers are using qubits rather than bits, and you get into that, and you realize very rapidly what you just said is just blown away by however many dimensions you want to talk about.
Right.
Right.
It's the thing about exponential growth, right?
Exactly.
Very cool.
Cool. Go ahead, Mom.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings up, why we brought Mickey into this whole scenario and things like that. We have a lot of clients that are younger and a lot of clients who are doing startups. And so we thought, going on this journey with Mickey and with a lot of the technology that he's using TikTok, he's using some things that the rest of us have not even heard of and may not. So, that's why we wanted him to be part of the group. And also he's got the time and the leadership skills to facilitate. So, that makes me happy. But anyway, what we're doing differently this year as opposed to last year. Our goal last year was to build the team, Mickey being a part of that. And, hopefully as we move on, we'll have, John Quaffle, if you've met him, Abdul Rauf, David, we may be doing some projects with you and other folks as we're building that team and making that part of it. So that was 2020. 2021, the word of the day or the word of the year is education. So every one of our clients could do better if they were doing a better job of educating their clients, including us. And we believe in that so strongly that we are putting together a workshop a month for our lab folks. This month we're focusing on resales, referrals, and recaptures. Each month has always had a theme, but this year we're actually putting together a course using something that Karla is very familiar with, an LMS system, and putting together a lot more intentional education of our customers, because if our customers are more educated, they become better customers, they become better at what they do, they sell more stuff, they start educating their customers, and that's what's going to save the world. So that's the vast plan for 2021 is education.
Nice.
That's just not for these guys. I mean, I do business consulting on the side because sometimes she gets people ask questions that just got nothing to do with marketing or to do with business. And so I can tell you that I've been helping one of my clients, and education is unbelievably important. Mm-hmm. They want to add a flight department to a 60-year-old company. And I said, well, you don't have a clue. I said, that's so expensive, you shouldn't even consider it. Well, the clients will pay for it. I said, really? Okay, so here's some numbers. And I mean, to do what they want to do is going to cost on the order of about maybe 300 million.
Whoa.
And the education was, and I got all the stuff, and over a series of a couple of years, I've educated them on why it costs this much and why that translates into this, and you got to have this, and you got to have that, and it just snowballs on all the stuff you have to have in addition to a place to put the airplanes. Mm-hmm. Can't just let them in the runway, got to have a hangar.
Right. And they're just thinking, we just buy a few airplanes, we're done.
That's right. And that's the good thing. I mean, you can't buy airplanes like you go buy a used car.
No.
I mean, it's a 90-day process minimum once you find the airplane you want, because of the pre-buy inspection, all the analysis of all of, they've got to actually match up pieces of paper with parts on the airplane. They've got to do all that stuff so that you don't buy a pig in a poke.
Mm-hmm.
And then, where do you want to take possession? Because depending on the status of what kinds of taxes are levied on it, besides that. And then it goes on and on.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, so
well, that's kind of the beauty of it, right? That's why it goes well with your goal, is there's a lot to be educated about. So if you're going through and creating that education, that's serving your clients, right? Like that's better helping them to be, and they're serving their clients. And that's right. I see what you're saying by the world keeps, saving the world through this method. So that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah, we're still doing marketing and we're still doing sales, but every marketing activity and every sales activity should be also educating customers, or else you are not serving them correctly. It's just not right in this industry. Everything is so complicated. We need to do that. Yeah. So anyway, David, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think I look back on the last few years, and I've dabbled in a lot of things, and I think that the focus has to be a little bit sharper. I've been painting with too broad a brush. I like the challenge of learning new things, but the rubber hits the road where I actually get in front of somebody that can take advantage of the things that I do. So my focus this year is to put a little bit less priority on just learning to do new things, and more focused on actually doing them, as opposed to, I've got a bunch of skills that I've undertaken, and that intrigues me, from certain aspects of my personality. But I think that, for this to work, I've actually got to get it in front of somebody that is going to use or potentially can use the stuff that I do, as opposed to just being content to learn how to make the presentation in a hypothetical sense. So I guess the focus this year is let the rubber hit the road. Right.
Taking all that work you did in class and using it on a real person.
Yes. That's I'm pretty comfortable in the classroom setting. That's been my life for many years. But it's getting it outside the classroom and working with real people, with people that have got a business and that are going to put what I do to use for them, and kind of getting comfortable with that, as opposed to what it might look like. I want to focus on what it does look like.
Right.
Nice. I like that. So that's more, you start as like you're sharpening your skill to be very, very specific on on an aspect, is what it sounds like. Is that accurate?
Right. I mean, I think that there's always this transition from a classroom scenario or a learning scenario, whatever you want to characterize it as, to actually doing it. You go to the simulator, you learn how to fly the plane. And if the simulator is really good, it may be close, but it's still not the same thing as actually flying the plane. You go to, my background, you go to trial advocacy course and you have mock trials and so forth. But the judge is a professor. The judge is not a real judge. He's not, it's not the same thing as actually being in there. And, the next step for me is to get in front of actual people that are doing things and do something for them.
Right. That makes perfect sense. And, coming from a background where people kind of gave you the next thing to do, now you're making it up. Yes. As an attorney, you never had to worry about this. There was a very prescribed set of things that had to be done. And now you're making this up from internal, what you want to do.
That's right. I don't have my secretary, telling me what my calendar is for the week.
That's awesome. But I'm sure the practicality will serve you, especially if you keep that at the forefront of where you're, of what you're trying to do on a monthly basis. Even if, getting in front of someone is the first step, say you knock that out in January, then by December, who knows how far you've gone,
Right.
So.
I mean, and, I'm you have the advantage of youth and, not having to unlearn all the old systems that I'm familiar with. But I haven't achieved a real comfort level with virtual meetings and so forth. I want to look the guy in the eye. I want to see somebody across the table. I want to be able to shake their hand. That type of thing that's my comfort zone. And the Facebook and the LinkedIn and all that stuff it continues to be a challenge for me.
Yeah, I understand, because I was a systems programmer for a number of years, and the languages that you use change, and as they change, just because COBOL, who cares?
Right.
Nobody cares. Now it's assembler, and then after you get past assembler, then there's PL1. I said, well,
Right.
And then it becomes Java, and then who cares? Because the next thing comes along.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to embrace change very early on in my career, or I never would have made it.
Well, and the other thing, I'm just really happy that you're here, David, because, a lot of people that listen to this podcast or that watch this podcast may be thinking, well, it's not my comfort level to be on Zoom, but here you are, knowing it is not your comfort level. Here you are killing it. So, that's fantastic. And I'm sure that's an inspiration to a lot of folks that feel weird about it still.
No, but pilots always embrace change because everything always changes.
Well, I think that's certainly true. Is that the things that I've written, I always try to emphasize that in aviation, challenge, having to do something different it's pretty much everything that you do. You don't, maybe airline pilots have the set route and it's, everything that they planned out goes exactly as planned, but Navy pilots didn't do that. Very, very seldom. Maybe I can count on one hand where every aspect of the flight went as it was briefed. Something almost always changes. The plane would not be perfect. The mission would not be perfect. The guys that were flying certainly weren't perfect. And, we had to accommodate all that stuff to get the job done. And so I think that, coming up in that world, I think all of us that are involved in aviation, recognize that, we can adapt to change. Change is to be expected, not only anticipated, but it's, things are going to be different once you actually start, doing whatever it is you're supposed to do. And it's your ability to make those adjustments that's going to determine the success of the mission.
Yep, which means that whatever change is, we need to learn to embrace it.
Yes, there are. If you've done it once, you're experienced. If you've never done it, it's just another opportunity to excel.
Exactly.
Nice. I like that. I liked how it went from let's get sharper, let's get focused, and then it's like, but flexibility is king. It's kind of, but they are really, they're so related. So that's great. That's great. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Karla. Did you want to go?
It does definitely seem like, like you said about change, but I always use the word pivot now, is that we're just pivoting all the time, right? Yep. And it, of course, COVID, the environment has thrown a curveball at everybody. So David, of course, it is not the same, obviously, being in the same room with somebody than doing this, so it's just taking that first step. But, the same thing here with motive learning. We actually pivoted, tried to get through the COVID. Most of our customers in the aviation industry were commercial. So, of course, there was a lot of change going on for them this year. So what the changes that we're doing is that's what we're working with ABCI on, is working with general aviation and trying to target that market, which, interesting enough, is increasing. But as well, it was interesting to me, I was on a call the other day where it's increasing maybe like in Florida, but maybe not up north. Like, they're getting a lot of revenue increase in Miami, but not in the Northeast. So you're So we're all still working it out, but again, our focus is helping organizations with their training needs. But we are going to, and it's kind of strange that you said education too, Paula, because we just had a meeting over last week and this morning that we're going to work more on education of our customers with our qualification management system. We took 3 years to enhance our learning management system to a qualification management system. Of course, we're still even revising it, as we speak, basically, because, feedback from customers. Now we have to we figured out this year that because different training departments are in different places and are at different levels and experience, that we're going to have to go back and start educating them more in qualification management and having them see the big picture of what it's going to do for them. So as a marketing standpoint, that's what we're going to be concentrating on. But as a business standpoint, the biggest thing that we're doing right now, we feel like we've built all these years, building this product. But now we're actually adding one more feature. And, but the new feature is that we committed to with one customer, which is going to be good for everybody, is we're actually going to put in, we're localizing it for different countries.
Nice.
So most of our customers are in North and South America, and we do have some in Europe as well, but we're actually focusing on, we have one customer who has expanded their North American operations to South America. So even though aviation is an English speaking industry, and we have, I don't want to say we fought this for years, but every time we had these conversations, it was like, well, do you really need it in Spanish? Do you really need it? And they're saying yes.
They're saying sí.
Very good, very good. So muy bien. So we are actually going to put Spanish and French, Latin Spanish and French Canadian first into the system to meet our America's needs. And then we might expand from there. So that's our big change in our system that we're doing this year.
That's awesome. Fantastic. I had a thought while you were talking about this. A lot of GA customers, this is their first time needing qualification management or needing an LMS or even knowing what an LMS is. So, educating those customers, you're not taking them from a competitor, you're actually growing them from spreadsheets and stuff like that. So education is really key for you.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll bring it into COVID. We're actually doing a demo tomorrow from somebody who contacted us just last week. And the interesting thing is that I don't want to give away, but they're in Chicago, and they are actually transporting, of course, vaccines that have to be frozen. And so they do have a cold facility. And so again, now we're adding more and more requirements onto even our customers because of the pharmaceutical industry and how that things need to be transported now.
Right.
That's cool. I feel like starting with the word pivot was a really good move. No pun intended, but I feel like it was a really good move because you're talking about everything that you've built from the ground up, right? Which is like your stabilizing force. But the pivot is just you're shifting all over the place, right? You're going from South America, French Canadian, but you still have that foundation. So it really I feel like it really embodies the word that you use to describe, this new year is pivot. And I think you're right on the money.
Well, and John, if you being a programmer, if anybody's ever watched Silicon Valley, that's like the big word for the software companies, right? Is, we got to pivot. So,
right. Well, the neat thing about the difference between change and pivot is change, suggests that you're just like throwing your weight in a different direction. And pivot suggests that you're keeping your weight on your center line and you're just turning, so.
Yeah, true.
It's better, it is a specific word. And I think it's a good word for that reason. So I'm glad you picked it.
Good.
Cool. Good stuff. All right. I think Trish?
Yep. I'm next.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think where I am at is sort of maybe embodying kind of where everybody is. I'm sort of like with Mikey, because I'm left formal employment recently, and finding my way, and feeling the fear, and getting stable. So my plans for 2021 are, I think, just getting the stability and the focus, because I think with COVID there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of opportunity to just be all over the place and following every wind. So, which is probably what I did last year. I probably gave ear to a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't have. But then it also sort of reaffirmed what exactly I want to do. But with that in mind, I'm still open to to where it's going to go, because my foundation is not that strong. I feel like I'm still at a place where, for me, it wouldn't be a pivot. I don't know what it would be, because
it's almost like, go ahead.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe setting the foundation. I suppose when you're setting the foundation, you could turn it or move it, and sort of because it's not set yet. Right. So I'm hoping that this year is going to solidify that. So a lot of last year I was sort of struggling between the private aviation and the cargo, and the opportunities were coming from both sides, and they seemed pretty strong enough from both sides. So I can't say that I've decided what I'll be focusing on. I know that for now I'm doing private aviation, passenger and cargo. But looking forward to hopefully setting the foundation, and having a clear direction of what exactly I'm doing by the end of the year. And like David, I'm hoping to write a little bit more. I do like to write, and I did a little bit of writing last year. So I think in terms of education and things like that, because I think that with private aviation, there's very little knowledge about private aviation out there. It's been a very closed business. So people need to know about it, and there's a lot of misconceptions about the benefits and what we do. It's kind of deemed like luxury, and people just think that, it's Boeing business jets flying around the place,
Gulfstreams everywhere.
Gulfstreams everywhere. Nobody's thinking about the little Cessna that's transporting, cargo or, documents and things like that. So. Right. So education is also a part. I think I consider that it's a big part of what I'm doing, because every time I interact with people, they're actually surprised. Oh, it's possible to do that. And so, but I'm enjoying it, and seeing where I won't say the wind, but where the opportunities blow.
For sure.
Right.
No, that's cool. It sounds like you're trying to plant a foot, right? So you're trying to figure out where you're planting that foundation. And I feel like the major benefit there is just the flexibility. If you're talking about these two contrasting opportunities, you're in your own element and you get to pick, and that's there's a lot of freedom, but also I would imagine a lot of chaos that comes with the freedom, right? A good amount of anxiety.
Right. Yeah, it's it does create, and as with everything, when you get an opportunity in cargo, it kind of diverts your attention, and then you have to go back and pick up where you left on, So I think that's going to give me the stability that I need, and I think the industry has its challenges, but there's still so much opportunity in the industry, and so. we can only do so much, you know.
True.
It's so
True,
frightening to choose a specialty, you know, or to choose or to specialize further than where you are. And you know, I know every startup goes through this, but you know, I really admire the fact that you are in Canada. You're representing, you know, parts of the industry that have not really seen much representation before. You're working with a lot of first-time cargo shippers, a lot of first-time charter people. You know, so you're really expanding the what do they call that? The blue ocean strategy for the entire industry. And it's a great time to be doing that because everybody's disrupted already. They're not going to get on an airliner without thinking about it. So, you know, it's just one more step to call Trish before you book a flight, you know, so that's.
Yeah, and the timing is great because like 2019 was when the sustainability discussion was going on and there was all this flight shaming. So 2019 was a hard year and 2020 was hard in a different way. But 2020 was more receptive towards private aviation and people became open about the need for private aviation. So it's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're in a great place at a great time. And I'm sure you'll make the best possible choices as you see, you know, you're in a good position to see what's happening with the market and to go where the opportunity
yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. Cool. Well, John, do you wanna bring us home?
I don't know about that, but one of the things that she and I are doing and going to be doing, she gave you the plan for 21. Well, what most people do is they stop there. Now, I spent a lot of years in private industry, and one of the companies I did, we did a 1 year, a 5 year, a 10 and 100-year plan. So to that end, we are doing our 1, 5, 10, and 20-year plans. And when you start doing that, she said, well, what do you mean? What? And then we start throwing stuff around. As an example, we are pursuing AR for marketing purposes. And you say, and augmented reality, well, what's that? How do you do that? Well, you can blow apart a turbine engine. And you can say, as an example, if you get this symptom, it's probably this, and it's probably going to start here as an estimate if you want to. I mean, there's all kinds of things. And that's just AR. Well, there's AI, and we're already playing with some of that with respect to chat bots and things. So that part, haven't figured out the VR part yet, but we're talking about it for 2025. And we've got some things that far out there, and then we go out to 2035, and then we go beyond.
Right.
It makes you think, what the heck, you know, but you need to think out of the box. You need to think ahead because 21 is going to be gone before you know it.
Right.
Then what do you do?
Start thinking about AR and VR and some of the things that we're already using. You know, I've talked about Crystal Knows in the course. I don't think we did that in the challenge, but David, in the intensive course, we talked about Crystal Knows and how to evaluate a client using AI, an AI tool on their LinkedIn profile, you know, which is kind of creepy, but it works astonishingly well. Copysmith, you know, that's another thing that David, I'm sure you've been learning about in class and things like that, some different AI copywriting tools, you know, that suggest some keywords that work particularly well or particularly badly for particular demographics. Lead generation, you know, market research, all of that stuff. There are now AI and VI and VR tools for all of that stuff. So we got to stay on top of all that. So.
Yep.
So John, as far as a goal for 2040, like it just seems so completely foreign to me. Like I can't even, you know, man.
It's not quicker
like,
than you think.
Well, you have to, first of all, you got to think, right? So we're doing this market that she's got right now for right now. Well, what's happening? I just talked about some some stuff that we can do between now and 2025. Well, when you
Right.
go beyond that, well, guess what? You got people in space. That's aviation.
Yep.
And and Musk is talking about going to Mars. Okay, so
Is that aviation or is that not? Right. Mm-hmm.
so you have to think in terms like that to jump out into the ether and think, oh, yeah, what can we do about that for us? And then you program things around. You say, well, let's talk about this, and we do a little bit of research because we have what I call, well, in the military, called a stand-up meeting every Monday morning. And she goes over the marketing stuff. I go over the financials, any other issues with networks and so forth. And then we talk about our 1, 5 to 10 and 50. I think we go out to 2050.
2050 is all. Yeah.
That's as far as we go so far. But we have these things, and you'd be surprised how much stuff we're filling in the blanks for 2025.
And 2050 is just a list of words. I mean, you don't have to come down to how am I going to use this next Wednesday. It's just
a
here
brain tickler. So
yeah.
you go away, and it's like I sent her I was reading something somewhere. I said, you know what, this will fit. So I texted her, and then she got this idea for a blog post, or not a blog post, but an episode for a podcast. So this I'm just trying to give you an example of how we do it. It's not the right or wrong way. It's just however you do to think in the future.
Right. And then how could a client use this? Like, could we explode a PT6 engine for turbines, and make that into a model? And would they even be interested in that? So that's brings it down to stuff that we should be sharing with them because we're supposed to be leading, right? So
and for Karla, I mean, I can see VR for that all over the place. She gets VR, sends it out to the client, and they can go down through that thing just like they do in the movies. But it's there. I mean, the stuff is there, just in its infancy.
So to go along with that, so a year ago, I had meetings with customers about different technologies, AR and VR being two of them. Mm-hmm. And this year, it was funny, at the end of the year when we talked to them, they both shared with me, oh yeah, we're going to be looking into VR now and such. And I actually have a presentation that I'll send you, John and Paula, that has some links into it to like different examples and such like that I shared with my customers that last year. So I really think you're onto something there. It's definitely a hot topic. I do think going back to augmented reality, is an easier thing to do than the VR itself, talking about cost effectiveness. Yeah. But and that's really what's going to hit first. Yes, people are doing virtual reality. They are doing it. They're doing it some fairly low cost, but they're getting grants with the other associations to do it. So they're all looking to see how they're going to do it. Right. But I think the augmented reality is going to hit first.
Yep.
Right.
I concur.
Yeah. And I think it's important to stay on top of it because, you don't want to play catch up. And I think like with private aviation, I think because there's so many operators, it's different like with airlines, because with airlines, the big airlines kind of adopt these new technologies ahead of time, and then they have the budget to do these things. But in private aviation, the operators could be smaller, so they may not be really thinking that way or have the budget to do that at the moment. But then it's things that we need to consider, like VR, AR, AI, machine learning. And those are things that they're becoming standard in every other industry. And, we need to also be up there and, they, help us save money, make money, and improve the customer experience and all sorts. So
yeah. That's one of the things she brought up was deep machine learning. I took a course from Cray Incorporated in San Jose before all this stuff hit. And we spent a week in class and classroom exercises on AI and deep machine learning. And I can tell you that stuff is flat scary what it can do. I mean, I programmed the machine to make it do stuff, and I sat back and watched it and I said, I saw what I wrote. It's very high level language, but then to see it work.
Right. Well, and that's the great thing about being where Trish is, you have a business that can pivot much more easily than some of these larger organizations that have never thought of this and will just keep doing what has made them successful in the past. They don't have the agility to think like you can think and to adapt as quickly as you can.
Oh, and one more sort of disjointed thought. I just found out yesterday that December was one of the best months for aircraft sales.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the larger aircraft are selling now again.
Right.
We're talking 650 size and up. And everybody says, what's bigger than that? Well, there's the 7,500 from Bombardier and so on. But, and then the other thing is that my business client looks like they're going to need Airbus 330 size aircraft for private use. So it's getting all mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we have electric planes coming up, and then the air taxis, Uber and Uber Air and all these things. So if you don't think about these things, you're going to be caught with your pants down.
Yes, absolutely.
They're thinking about you. They're definitely thinking they're ready for you, whether you're ready for them or not. So that's great. I love my favorite thing about this particular podcast. My favorite thing is how we started at what are you going to do for 2021? And now it's like AI and AR and 2050 and Terminator's coming back, man. Like, it's just like, we just like shot to Mars. That was crazy. So that's great.
Unfortunately, if things keep going and we get bad guys in the picture, Skynet's going to be real.
Oh.
Oh, shoot. No, cool. But like, that's almost the best part about discussion about the future is it's really the hardest thing is the pessimism, I think, when you're thinking about the future. And all of you guys are super optimistic, it sounds like you guys know what you want to do. And I think that's great.
Education's going to save the world. There will be no Terminator. There will be no Skynet. There will be none of that.
Cool.
Well, even if it does, it's just how do we tackle it?
Respond. Yeah.
I think we're about out of time. Mickey, do you want to take us out? Okay.
Yeah, let's wrap it. Like I was saying, great podcast. And if you guys, come back over the coming weeks with that same energy, like it's awesome. I like hearing all you guys' different perspectives. So thank you. My name is Mickey Gaminal. I am Gaminal Tutors, where we do ASVAB domination. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or YouTube.
Or GaminalTutors.com.
Or, of course, GaminalTutors.com.
Old school websites. Paula Williams with ABCI, and we help aviation companies sell more of their products and services, whatever that takes, especially if it includes educating your customers using any means necessary.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Dave Pearl, the Fly Writer, theflywriter.com. I write for aviation businesses. If it involves writing, I can write it, whether that's content or copy. My words will give your ideas wings.
Hi, and I'm Karla Roberts with Motive Learning. And we actually, I was just thinking about how do you get in touch with me? Well, you can get in touch with me by either motivelearning.com or motivelms.com. And we help organizations train and qualify their employees on the airports.
Trish Machiri of Charterly. We assist travelers, passengers with private jets for passenger and cargo travel. And we want to see the benefits of aviation become more accessible to more people. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram at Charterly. And our website is charterly.ca.
Nice. John Williams and ABCI. I just handle, we don't advertise, I guess this is advertising. We don't advertise for business clients. On the occasion we get them, then I take care of that.
Sweet.
You just did. But that's okay. No, it's great when we get them, and sometimes the marketing problems bleed off into business problems and vice versa. So those things happen.
Yep.
Well, great, guys. That was a great book club. 2 weeks, we're going to be going over the planner. So if you can make it, it's going to be really great. And then if you have any questions about the planner, feel free to comment on the event page on Facebook. And yeah, it's going to look like a really good tool for kind of in the same vein as this discussion. It's like a 2021 plan. So it should be great.
Fantastic. And if you use a different planner, bring it so we can see it. That will be fun.
Do that. Do that.
Hope to see you all next time.
Good seeing you guys.
See everybody.
Stay healthy and safe.